Alright, welcome back to Forza Horizon 5, and we have a new series. We've got the Modern Horizons series, where our rewards are a not hugely impressive Kia and a very impressive looking Racer TS. Never heard of it before, excited to see what that one's like to drive. Summer season, we've got a Ford Dark Horse up first, which sounds exciting, and a Porsche Mission R. Again, not heard of before, been a bit out of touch on my modern supercars, but that one looks pretty nice. This episode we're wanting to get stuck in on the weekly challenge, so we need a 2017 Alpine A110. Own and drive this cozy beauty. Goes against the grain of 2010 sports cars, aiming for comfort and good response times over speed. Interesting. That sounds like my kind of car, quite frankly. And then we've got to drive 16.1 Ks in any 2010s vehicle as one of the daily challenges, which we can probably do in the Alpine. Looks like the way that we get this, if we don't own it already, is to go into the Forzathon shop. For that you need to have the points. I guess that's where the Horizon Arcade minigames comes in, as one of the other points options. However, I'm fairly sure I've already got enough. Yeah, got enough, and I already own the DB11. It tells you if you've owned it already, which is nice. This one we do not, so let's get that now. So now that we own it and have driven it for a little bit, we now need to win any road race. Experience the Nissan-derived 1.8 litre turbocharged engine held under the hood. Alpine record a time of 4.2 seconds, 0 to 97. Not bad, not great, but not bad. Do we need to do any road races in any of our other challenges, I wonder? Now there is the Arch of Mulege circuit, the round-the-clock seasonal championship. That requires an S1 900 rating for the same decade as this car is from. That means we've got a lot of work to do. Well, first things first, I always say that just starting with the tyres is often a good idea, and if we're doing a road race, then slick race tyres should be perfect, and that gets us most of the way there straight away. Next thing to look at is just upgrading the brakes, upgrading the springs up to race spec. Let's work on getting some anti-roll in there as well. Bracing. Not going to do the weight reduction if I don't have to. Let's change the clutch. Let's upgrade the transmission to, yeah, I think 6-speed is all we should really need. Driveline and diff. We're up to 764. And we haven't even worked on the power yet, so let's just crank up all of these. See how close we can get to the S1. We're already in the S1. There we go. Now, do we have to be careful about whether or not we top out on the S2? Fitting twin turbo with anti-lag always bumps us a decent amount. Now we've got the intercooler option, oil and cooling there, and flywheel. 870. Well, I think that's probably good enough. I'm not too worried about pushing it all the way up further. Let's maybe put a splitter on to get some power down. So it actually decreases speed, supposedly, but increases everything else, so it's always worth it. And there we have it, $76,000 being spent on the vehicle, but it bumps it all the way up into S1 rank. Alright, we actually had plenty of options when it came to cars for this event, quite amusingly. I've got quite a few S1 road races, funnily enough. And it's a kind of amusing that we took this vehicle that supposedly had a more humble goal of handling and such instead of outright speed, and we just threw everything at it to make it fast. But never mind, that's fine. At the end of the day, this is a racing game, so we do kind of want speed. I mean, part of it was also upgrading the tyres. Now, part of the problem with this track, though, is that it is a little bit slippery out here, and we gave it slicks. Maybe we should have stuck with just the semi-slicks. Alright, that tyre sticks out a little bit awkwardly. Never mind, I just hit it at just the right angle to stop. That's funny. Now, let's see if we can catch up to these guys. Even with trash control on, it is struggling a bit through some of these corners to stay not spinning around. It'll either want to spin or it'll want to wash wide. We either have too much grip or not enough, it seems. That's fine, we can cut some corners and slide in front of that dude. We've got 2 more laps to catch up, that's fine. It's a really straightforward track at the end of the day. It's not one I have to concentrate hugely on. This corner is probably the worst one, quite frankly. This whole section. Lamborghini up there who's going to be sticking to the road nicely. I envy them to an extent. It doesn't help that, as is always the case, we are jumping into a completely unfamiliar car and trying to win races with it. Always a bit of a tough ask. But we're hanging in there. We've got one more lap after this to be able to overtake them. I'm not too worried about overhauling them up here, because this is a bit of a tricky segment through this corner, because it goes over the ridge there. Now we can get the power down. And this corner up before the straight is not really a corner. This is the one that I slid through before. So let's just do the same, and there we go. We carried a lot more speed through there than they did. So that sets us up nicely. We're just getting a little bit physical. We can get a little bit physical too and just slide in front, force them to brake, and then we're away. Now we just need to hold it together. Oop, he says, spinning into the wall. Classic. And that was I thinking I was braking carefully before the corner, but apparently not. We can now kind of block them out too, because they'll be wanting to take a good line. We can steal the line and just hold it against them. It is often easier to race when there is a car in front of you that you can then follow the lines of. It's more difficult to have to figure it out for yourself, funnily enough. But we've managed to stay ahead. We've got this corner section here that we normally end up with a bit more momentum on, so if we can just run off, like so, then we take the first race. Of course, it should be noted that we only needed to win a single road race in this vehicle to advance the weekly challenge, and the next thing we actually need to do is take a picture. So let's stop the race right now. I love how you can just pause time like this and take a picture of ourselves amidst other cars, because there we go, we've got a few more, and we now upgrade our accolade for cars photographed up to the 325 out of 860. Can you believe they're at 860? Looks like we also have to take a photo of a Morgan at a particular spot and get a mural in the background. So that will be something to look at later. For now, we've got to just race through the streets. You know how I've said in previous episodes how I like it when I'm only taking like a B class through the streets because it feels a lot less stressful than when you're trying to rip through here in an S class? Yeah. Now we've got the S class and we get to show exactly how stressful it can be trying to avoid all of the obstacles. I mean, we're usually trying to corner pretty well anyway, so it shouldn't matter what there is on the side of the track, because we're trying not to hit it anyway. But accidents do happen sometimes. It makes it harder to cut some corners, that's for sure. But we can just barge our way through, apparently. I really expected he was going to hold his line a lot stronger there. Now this corner here is always my downfall. Actually cut that too close. Normally I run too wide and bang on the barrier every time I'm trying to do a clean lap in a rivals event. Instead we went too much the other way. But never mind. It only took us one lap to get to the front this time. It helps that the track is dry for our slick tyres. It being wet last time really didn't work very well in our favour. But this time it is dry and we just need to hold it well through a lot of these corners. Ooh, crunch. This one here is the hard one. I'm going to brake super tough and get around. Yeah, I knew that was going to happen because that corner I do not do well with. However, we've got quite a few options still to catch up and overtake the Lamborghini. And in fact, we can just do a nice little drift through that corner there, get a slingshot. Just trying to make sure that I get the power on through the corners, rather than just drifting or sliding through them. It's the thing that I always forget to do. Being a rear-wheel drive car, of course, I have to be careful I don't overdo it and just spin out, but that's what the traction control is for. This is a modern car, so it should definitely have the traction control enabled, I feel. Ah, see, that's the running wide on that corner that I always do. I usually knock into that last little barrier bit. Seems the others do not do very well through this section, which is interesting. Fine through the city itself, but on that uphill segment, not so good. Maybe they're tuned a little bit too much for the top speed. Whereas I tweaked the ratios on this one, so they hold the speed going uphill a lot better. Does help. Because especially through these twisty sections, you can hold your line pretty well against someone who's trying to get past, because the streets are fairly narrow, and the line is pretty well defined. Whereas... rubbish. Whereas through the uphill segment later on, there's a little bit more room to get past, so having that extra power at that point, I think, helps a lot more. I braked way too early for that, but it's alright. Get on the power at that point. On the final lap. Trying to brake well for these corners. Probably overdoing it a little bit, quite frankly, but I'd rather overdo it than ram into the wall. We're in front anyway. Let's just carry through here. Ah, see, I stuttered on the corner there. I was too nervous about going too far on the inside and crashing through the rock wall again that I let off on the steering. And that's what made me drift into the wall on the far side instead. It's always hard to correct those things with a thumbstick. Anyway, there we go, cross the line. Number 2 in the bag. And final race of the championship, and we've got one more step in our weekly challenge to do, and that is to rack up 5 great speed bonuses in this vehicle. I feel that these tracks are not large enough to allow for that. If I didn't get them on the last one, I'm probably not going to on this one, because this is very short, very sharp, and not a lot of room to open the taps up. In fact, we've got to really fight our way to the front through here, because with only 3 laps to get ahead on such a compact track, we actually have to pay attention a bit more than we normally do. And not worry too much about trying to get great speed bonuses, because we just need to get ahead. We need to finish in at least 3rd normally. Once we've won 2 races in a championship, then generally 3rd is good enough in order to place 1st in the championship overall. So through here I hit a pole anyway, but I was pushing it a little bit harder to see whether or not I would get at least a speed skill, let alone a great speed. Didn't see one, so I don't think that's happening. We're getting good drafting because we really don't have much choice but to follow them through these lines. Brake hard through there and then get through this twisty section. We don't even get a chance to pile the power on much because it's just such a tight corner. 2 more to go, but we are in the position that we should now win the championship. But, you know, it's always nice to win the race as well. Get a little bit more bonus money. More ultimate drafting. Get past this guy. No, not quite. Maybe. Maybe. Yeah, he wants to turn in. I'm not going to let him. Pushes him wide. Now we've just got to try and track down this guy. We're not doing too well through these corners. The other guy's catching up to us again. I think he's in an Acura, I think I saw the badge, which would be the car that I would have chosen to do this. I do have a nicely tuned up Acura. But we've got the Alpine and we're making it work. Managed to slide in front of the Lambo. Lost our combo, unfortunately, but that was never going to last. Not on this sort of race. Got the last sharp bend at the end, which isn't actually as sharp as it looks on the map if you do that and go nice and wide through and across the line. That is a sprint and a half. Right, well, while we were doing that racing, we did get that 16.1 kilometers in any 2010s car, so that one's in the bag from the daily challenges. We do need to now get to the speed trap, the Avenido speed trap, and get 3 stars in it. We're not going to manage to get 3 stars in this vehicle though. I've checked the requirements and our top speed is not good enough for that. But we can hopefully just build up our 5 great speed skills on the way there. Fairly sure awesome speed. Oof, crunch. Ow.
At the roundabout, take the first exit.
Fairly sure awesome speed is the next step up from great speed, so we should get it. Like, it should qualify if you get the one above in order to unlock the one below, right? Right? I haven't seen anything pop up down the bottom though yet. Great speed, 150. Maybe we just hold around the 250 mark instead, just in case. Just in case the game is stupid. Oop, there's 2 great speeds and a bunch of wreckage. Great drifting too. Speed. Got to get up to about 240 mark again to get great speed. Speed. Great speed, there we go, great speed. Good. One more great speed. So we need to get like 330 k's an hour or something through there, and I can only do 297. That said, I could upgrade my gearbox further. I think that's what I'm really missing. That's why I'm topping out where I am. There we go, Forefront of Innovation complete. That will be our weekly challenge done. And what that means is we can now swap, after we make ourselves violently ill, we can now swap to a car that can get 3 stars in the speed zone. And if you want to go super fast, I think a Koenigsegg 1.1 with a top speed of 440 is probably your best bet of going 330. The hardest part is just holding that speed through this corner here, but I think we've done it. I think we're good, chat. I think we're good. New PB, in fact. Fantastic. And we'll just rack up a few slides and drifts and air skills as we bounce our way across. And rack up some skill points, because why not? Now, the convenient thing is that the other PR challenges that are in the festival playlist this week also require an S2 anything goes in order to achieve. Well, I think we've got exactly what we need. We can just jump all the way into the stadium with this. And, yeah, 3 ultimate air skills at the Summer Stadium Party. I didn't realize that's what we were doing right now, but we got the seasonal objective, and that's what matters. The next 2, however, might be slightly more difficult, because these are on dirt roads, and we need to exceed our PB that we currently have on these speed traps. So, not sure about this one. We might have to swap to something with off-road tyres for a start. That does kind of make sense, but hey, I'm going to give it a good college try with this, just in case, because you never know. Coming around this corner is the hard part. Okay, yep, we missed that turn a little bit. Let's see if we can take this a little bit wider around here. We need to get up to about 240, I think it was. Yeah, a little bit short there, a little bit short. Oop, and over we go, yeah, 41 k's more. And I think that's just because we're not really able to put that power down. It's in these times of need that we usually turn to our Ultima that we have, which is tuned up and has off-road tyres and all-wheel drive. So let's see whether or not we can do any better with this. Just got to hold a decent amount of speed through these corners, and this one here is the hard one. I think we might have done it. 275, new PB, fantastic. I don't know what I used in the first place for that. It was probably an off-road vehicle instead of a supercar that has been given off-road tyres. But hey, this one works. Last but not least for the PR challenges, we have a speed zone to get through, which is also off-road. Also through a water trap, which is a bit tricky, but we kind of skipped over that pretty well. Now, the hardest part is not going so wide that it fails us on that corner. Thankfully we kept it in. We need to go at least 150, I think. I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good. New PB? Another new PB. Fantastic. I'm not a huge fan of the fact that they're throwing things at me that exceed the normal 3-star rating and require PBs, but thankfully, we've got the right equipment for the job. And last but not least, we just need one more point for the halfway mark of the season. And we just need to take a picture of any Morgan in front of this particular mural, and we only have the Morgan 3-wheeler, so that'll have to do. There we are, world's fastest we got. Yeah, world's fastest this car ain't, but that doesn't matter. All that matters is we've got the 20 points required, 21 in fact, in order to get our Ford Dark Horse. Also not going to be the fastest in the world, and that means we are halfway through to the Porsche Mission R. We only need to get another 19 points. The first season is always a little bit easier as well because we have the Rivals races. We only have 2 of them this series, which means that we're only getting 2 bonus points. Oh, hang on. Each one is worth 4 points. Never mind. That's 8 free points that goes towards every single season. That's mildly absurd. Oh well, that means that finishing this off is going to be much easier than I thought, but we'll do all of the easy championships and event lab events regardless, but it does mean that we're not going to have to worry at all about doing the multiplayer content such as the trial, so that's always nice. But for now, that will be all. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.